stop doing it alone. You don't get a medal for struggling. The struggle medals don't exist. Okay?
This is the Brown Way to Money podcast, where women of color in business find their financial independence path. Welcome, Jo, to the Brown Way to Money podcast. Today, we are talking about kind of like what you guys heard already from a different perspective from the VC. We had Laura, we had Ashley, we had Julissa talking about they're the ones writing the checks, talking about what they are seeing. But of course, this information it's dense. Not everybody is ready to receive the information the way that it's supposed to be received, right? The VCs and the people writing the checks are not preoccupied on getting you ready to get funded, right? And that's why I would love to dive into those topics with you, Joseph.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So let's just dive right into it. What does it take to get funding ready for a small business owner?
I love this question. I love how complex, but as well simple the question is. I always love to tell everyone you are your first investor. And I always say if you cannot pitch your business to yourself, if you cannot make the sacrifices in terms of investment of your own time, your own money, moments with your children, moments with your family, then you will need to take a step back and say, am I fundable, or am I funding ready? And a lot of the answers to those questions you can actually begin auditing and answering yourself. And a lot of times when people come to me and talk to me about, I want to get funded, I want some VC, I want a grant, the first question I love to ask them is essentially, what have you invested so far? And then there's a look on their face like, what do you mean? How much have you bootstrapped so far? How much of your own existing resources have you used to make this happen? And if a lot of them say, oh no, I haven't done that yet, or I haven't gotten there yet, or I'm still working on this, then the first question I have for them is, why aren't you investing in yourself? Because an investor will clock that. An investor will pay attention to that. And if you answer and say, I'm using my own resources, or I have taken a portion of my house to begin packaging things, or I've gotten a second job at night so I can pay for this and start bootstrapping it, then you are fundable and you are funding ready because you see the potential in the business. If you know your potential, you're going to exhaust all the resources you currently have. So that's number one. The second part of that is essentially, do you understand your offering? And do you understand how your offering could then create dividends and profit to other people? And do you understand when they're going to get that profit? And some of that profit and dividends might not be financial. And I think a lot of people are so caught up on what I call purse strings, they forget about heartstrings. So you might have a situation where you can go to an investor and say, by investing in my CIC, by investing in my product, you are going to impact this many women. You are going to impact this many young people. That's still a return on investment. It might not be monetary, but it is still a return on investment. And if you don't understand that completely, or can not just monetize it, but quantify it, you might not be ready, because at some point, an investment must have a return. And a lot of people are so caught up on the investment side, they don't understand what they can guarantee or what they are working towards as a return. So setting targets, setting ambitions, creating a long-term versus short-term strategy. Some of the first questions I ask a business is, where do you see this business in 5 years? If there's any or a little hesitation, that's a concern, because an investment is not invest in it and then see a return next month. I want to know, what's the long-term vision? What is the long-term ambitions? What is the mission of this organization? What are your key pillars that you're never going to stray away from, no matter how much investment you get? So, as I said, it's a complex but also simple answer that you can start asking yourself.
And a lot of what you just said, we heard it on the last episode with the VCs. And it gets me to think they are also looking to know you as a business person, right? And to know you as a business person means that you have to had some skin on the game, like already. You had to put in what you said, a lot of your resources to understand what you can bring to the table. But I want to know, what is the difference between the I need funding that I hear a lot versus the I'm ready to be funded? Like, where is that difference and how can somebody self assess? Okay, I am now in the I'm ready to get funded.
I absolutely love that question because I need funding. It alerts me that you need support. You need money to bring in the resources to help you understand your vision and strategy. So I almost want to replace funding with support. I need support. I need to understand my vision. I need to understand my goals. I need to understand my target audience. We translate that as funding because the immediate thought is to get that, I need money to pay for the resources. And it's almost this really interesting journey. So, to your point, if I replace funding with resources and support, then you could identify I am ready to be funded because you could then say, after doing a deep dive of my business strategy, commercial strategy, long term plans, vision, all that stuff, I've identified I need a 6 to 9 month cash burn rate of X, Y, and Z to first bring in these resources and then these resources to then execute X, Y, and Z. It is a methodical and strategic ask. It's not
Right.
a very subjective, I need funding, I need money.
S- So it's kind of like, and this is what I have seen a lot happen. It's if you are preparing yourself for a loan application, but instead of asking for a loan, you are going to ask for investment. So it's the same questions, kind of questions, that you are need to walk through, and thinking, what do I want these to, to return on? But also, why would I ask this specific person, this specific investor about that? In your experience, once people identify they are ready to get funded and pitch to VCs, angel investors, or whoever it is, grants, how do you understand which ones are a fit and which ones are not? Because with the same kind of route of I need funding, we come with, well, anyone wants to get in this business, and that's not the approach that you should take. So, how do you go about understanding which ones you are going to be targeting? And then, subsequently, what is the next step that you're going to take with them?
I am interrupting this episode because, as promised, my thank you prize for those who completed the survey before Thanksgiving is here. I recorded the random selection, so if you want to see it, watch this podcast in YouTube. And the winner to come to this podcast is number 100. This was an anonymous survey, so I'll send the email to the corresponding number 100. Thank you so much and keep sharing the survey. You are all participating to win $500. We need more of your voices. Share the survey at www.brownway2money.com. Survey.
That's also a great question. Essentially, if you would not make them a founder, I would be very apprehensive to make them an investor. And I say this because they're going to be the ones to believe in your dream. They're going to be the ones that stress test you. They're going to be the ones that expect results and execution. When I was in a commercial role previously, I had to present to investors what I did with their money on a quarterly basis. And a lot of them paid attention to what was happening in the market. A lot of them had skin in the game. And if I didn't come to those quarterly meetings very well prepared to understand what's happening in the business, they let me have it. Because for them, they're like, what do it's not just your business anymore. It's our business. And if I did not vet certain things or look into certain opportunities, or if I was making the wrong choices with the investment, I was being questioned and scrutinized because once they put an investment in, that's a part of the business they're a part of as well. And not all investment is good investment. Not all money is good money. And when people tell me, I don't want to take investment because I want full autonomy and I don't want to answer to others and I don't want to lose my business, I think ultimately you're looking at the wrong investors. Because if they're not bringing, like, you have to always remember, it is a relationship. So you're bringing in not just your monetary investment, you're bringing in your resources, you're bringing in your connections, you're bringing in your visibility, who you are in the industry as well. And if those don't align, It can't just be you're bringing a check. If those don't align as well, then yeah, I would be concerned that they might not have your best interests. So essentially, that's how I would start to vet the
Yeah.
investors.
I think it's a beautiful kind of like dance between you and your investor because it becomes your founding team, right? It becomes the person that you need to talk for decisions that ultimately you have looked for them. You have approached them, you have looked for them, and it's going to be part of your business. But I wonder, have you ever had bad experiences with the businesses that you have helped getting funded, bad experiences with investors and what they have done on those cases?
I've seen it more from my experience through my conversations with founders. The founders, I don't want to say this in a way like when you work with me, that doesn't happen, but I haven't had so far the experience of the founders I've worked with take bad investment. But however, I have brought in founders that have had bad investment, commercial terms, B2B agreements that were not well. And specifically in those cases, it was always a different power dynamic, right? Where they needed them more than they needed them. In terms of the founder needed the investors or the commercial terms or the retailers or whatever it was more than they needed them. And it was clear in their commercial terms. It was clear in how much stake they gave as an investment. And to your point, it is a dance because if you truly believe in your product, you will understand what the importance of valuation is. And if you don't know the value of what you're asking for investment, they can take a lot. I had somebody
Right.
with Let's Grow BFF within the first month asked for a stake in it and what they wanted to offer me. And I immediately said, no, I haven't even understood the true legs of what this could be. And their response immediately was, that's the right answer. So I think if you take it too soon, you never will know the true value because you only have so much of a vision of how much it's worth. But if you really give it some time to grow organically, then you have a better understanding of what investment could make as an impact. So the other thing, to your point, is taking it too soon.
Right. And when you say too soon, it is not really a timeline. Too soon for people will be 3 months. Other too soon for others will be a year or 2 years. But it's really understanding and coming back to what you just talked at the beginning on long-term vision and what is the value of your business, what is the return on investment for your business itself, not for X person or Y person, but for the business. What is the type of offer and solutions, and that takes time. That takes time, especially for people listening to this podcast. Most of them are going to be service based or software service, right? A combination of both because it's not tangible. It takes more time to understand the value in the long term. You may understand it in a year from now, but what about 10 years from now? What about the other type of services? So this is not a timeline, and I agree with you in here 100%. You gotta keep it to yourself until you understand what is it, like
Yes.
where you're going,
Yes.
right?
And something you just said, which love about services, I love to, I'm going to say objectify, but I don't know if that's how you say it. I love to make something very abstract, like a service, actually feel like a product. I know I'm a product and I provide products. I
Right.
don't look at it as services because even if you think about a product, it's also abstract. Why do we pay that much for an iPhone? Because they tell us that's how much it's worth. Why do you pay so much for my services? Because I tell you that's how much it's worth. So there's a lot of correlation to that, but you need a very commercial savvy person to help you understand that. A lot of my service founders, I will break down to the detail of what each service is as a value, how much I use in product, how much I use in time, how much it is in overhead, how much it is worth versus I do the same market analysis for an eyebrow wax as you would for a shampoo, right? Because you need to your point, you need to understand the value of your offering to understand the bigger picture as well. But I could completely agree. It's a lot of work to understand while you're still functioning and processing the business. The other thing I will say about funding, you might be using this one business to exit, make your profit, to really launch the business you want where there's no investment. And I think people get so stuck on the first line of business to say this is their be all end all. And if they take investment, it's not going to work. Maybe you take investment, flush it out, take your coin, and then start your dream farm with chickens and vegan butter. Do you know what I mean? Like the vegan butter business doesn't need to be the investment business. You came up with a beautiful app on how to put your children to sleep and you cleared an exit of 2 million. Go open your vegan butter farm now and have a beautiful life. So you don't have to necessarily always take investment for your dream.
Yeah. And
And
what has
it's
happened
something,
a lot.
yeah, but not with our community.
No.
Our community, and people ask me a lot about why do you call it Let's Grow Black Female Founders, not Let's Grow Entrepreneurs, Let's Go Business Owners, or whatever.
Yeah.
I specifically called it founders because I want us to be more confident in founding businesses and exiting if we want to. It's not a sellout. It's okay to sell out and say, you know what? I'm going to open up the business I really wanted to open up.
Yeah, that's something that, and again, not for the majority of people listening to this podcast, but if you do listen to this podcast and you are feeling ashamed, guilt because you are thinking to exit, that is nothing to be ashamed of. You have built a business because you want to sell it, and that's okay. And that's perfect. And
Perfectly
that's
okay.
success. I mean, I remember the big thing that happened with the shea butter, this sis, and she grew, and it's amazing. I use her products. The community was giving us so much BS because she sold. Well, that's kind of the point. I mean, she sold her business.
It's fine. It's fine. And there's no wrong or right answer. You know what I think about? You know, when people buy houses to just renovate them, sell them, and take a profit to buy another house and sell and renovate, that's also business.
Business. Yeah.
And one of the business founders I look up to and I love, number one, because I used to work for Estee Lauder companies. Number two, because I don't think we hear about her story enough, is the founder of Jo Malone. And now she took her coin.
Know her. Yeah.
She took her coin and now she has Jo Loves and she can do what she wants because she has the coins to do it. And it's something that we can feel more comfortable about and understand it's okay. It's not, there's no wrong or right. And yeah, it's like, what is your long-term vision? What it is you're trying to accomplish? What is it you're trying to take away? But yeah, I think we need to have a better relationship about what is the journey, founding, investing, scaling, growing, exiting, and what we want to do as a continuous cycle as business owners.
Right. So if today you are going to onboard a new client, what is it, the pre-checklist that you have to do for them, like the screening? What is it that you're going to help them with?
I have two different types of screenings I do with clients. And I would say a big majority of anyone that comes to me can fit in one of these boxes. The first one is what I call elevate your business. And think of that as a very detailed, one-to-one, customized incubator accelerator. So you have an idea, proof of concept, business plan, business that's already been functioning for a while, and you need fundamental support. We need to start from the top. We need to build out your 12-month forecast. We need to build out your vision, your strategy, who is your audience, your personas. Like we need to, I like to say, take it apart and put it back together. So those would be the best candidates for Elevate Your Business. And that can go from 8 to 12 weeks, depending on where you're at in your business journey. Part two is who I call growth partners. And essentially, you have passed the Elevate Your Business level. You have a very strong understanding of your business strategy, your goals. You need to fine tune if it is your B2B strategy. You need to fine tune your D2C strategy, your 12-month forecast, your margins. We need to look at better negotiations with your cost of goods. So you've essentially launched the business, but now it's time to fine tune it, right? To make it scale and grow. So those are the growth partners. And I start at what I would say is standard level in touch, and then we can increase it depending on what support levels you need. If both don't really sit in where you're at now, in terms of you still haven't really deep dived into the business, you don't have the time or money investment to put into commercial support, I have the Let's Grow BFF Collective. And that's basically community, right? So you can join the community, the existing digital tools, attend webinars, attend events, and start to feel more motivated and inspired. I only take people on if they can invest not only in the obvious fees in it, but also time. Because yes, you could write me a check, but I need to know that when we get off this call, you're going to put in 2 to 3 hours into the business. And if you can't commit to both, then it's not the best fit. We have to wait till you're ready to do that.
Any last thing that comes to mind that you would like to tell the public?
stop doing it alone. You don't get a medal for struggling. The struggle medals don't exist, okay? And yes, funding will help because it'll give you some sense of relief because it's something you can control, money. And you talk a lot about that in the work you do. Money is just a part of control. But if you're not ready to be vulnerable, if you're not ready to get out of that beautiful comfort zone, you're going to have a challenging time running a business. It's like being put on fire while feeling super fulfilled and excited all the time. I don't know if that's like a very odd way of describing it, but it is. Like, it really, really is. I'll tell you a story about one of my founders. And this is when she did this, I was like, yes, you get it. We went to pitch to a retailer, very big wellness retailer. I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to jinx it. And when we were doing our prep for her pitch, I said, you need to pitch in a way that they can see your product on their shelves. You already exist in their universe. They just need to catch up. You're already in there. She woke up the next morning. She lives about 2 hours outside of London. She left her house at 6 a.m. because the pitch was around 9. She went to the retailer store. She cleared a shelf. She put her product on the shelf. She took a picture of it and put it in the pitch deck.
That's what we're talking about.
That's what I need to see, right? So when we were sitting in front of this retailer buyer and clicking through the slides, they were like, oh my God, that's our product. That's your product.
That it is.
So if this is the hunger we need to see, right? Have you done everything within your existing power to make it happen? And that's what when you see that, I mean, if I had money in my pocket, I would have just gave it to her and be like, let's do this because it shows me how invested you are in the business. So I want to invest too. I'm inspired by how much you're invested. So in a long-winded closing, people will be inspired to invest when they see how invested you are. You are your first investor.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And again, go back to the episode just below this one with Jo, or two, depending on how long I take to edit this one. But you will hear some of this exact same words that we have talked here with them from the VC. It is really, we are not talking about too much funding here. Only 1.5% of all VC goes to Latino and Latinas, only 2% goes to women founder. We are not getting a lot of opportunity, but from the opportunities that you're getting, you want to make sure that you are the best prepared to take it.
Absolutely.
If you are
Absolutely.
on that point, right?
Absolutely.
So, Jo, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Please let us know where they can find you.
Yes. So me directly, Jo Wong, Jo, J-O, no E, W-O-N-G, who is Jo Wong on all platforms. And if you are interested in learning more about Let's Grow BFF, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at Let's Grow, GROW, BFF, like best friends forever, but also Black female founders. You can find us there.
Okay, did you hear something that you liked in today's episode? If so, don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead right now. Yes, right now, before this episode ends, and send this episode to those 3 friends, 3 girlfriends that you know you can go to talk about finance, independence, money, business growth, entrepreneur life, and all of these juicy topics. Share this episode with them because that is the only way we can grow together. I'm Alejandra Rojas, your host, and I will see you next week.